Earlier today, or was it yesterday, I changed the logo for my YouTube channel, or rather the profile picture, and it's only a minor change, so you can't really call it a rebrand, but I just thought I'd give some context into why that is and how that fits into everything else I'm doing. In short, nothing really is changing on the channel at all. But anyway, let's just talk about exactly why I've done this, and it's really just to bring it more in line with everything else I'm doing, with what I term the digital stage. So this is this concept of, every interaction we have on screen, be it in a YouTube video, in a live stream, or in a Zoom call, a webinar, a workshop, an event, the ability to be able to just speak to people through the lens, as it were, and deliver your value this way is what I'm all about. So that's what I talk about in lots of my courses. It's where I talk about immersive presentations, being able to be a part of the presentation, bringing content up onto the screen as you need it. It's this really amazing ability that we've got now to communicate and deliver our value effectively on screen from wherever we happen to be in the world. So I recently changed the whole sort of branding, if you like, of my academy. So we've got the Take One Tech Academy, which started 2 years ago. Well, I changed the name of that around the middle of last year to the Digital Stage Academy because, as I say, it's just having this consistency of terminology, the vernacular that we use to describe this. So the logo has simply changed from the Take One Tech logo to this. By the way, the Take One Tech logo, I started this channel as a little hobby experiment 4 years ago to practice the process of making videos in one take, hence the name. And that logo, I think, probably took me all of about an hour to create. So I didn't really put a great deal of thought and care and attention into it, I have to say. So now it's changing over to this logo here, which is basically what I've been using for all of these other properties which come under this sort of digital stage umbrella, if you like. And so those can be split into 4 real areas. So there is content, there's events, education, and resources. There's a bit of overlap here, but I had to give them some sort of title. So the content, by that I mean it's all of the sort of free content that I'm putting out. YouTube is one of the best inbound marketing tools. By inbound, it's like you're not actually spending money on advertising, things like that going outwards. It's stuff that you just put out there, and then it's a way to promote what you are doing sort of indirectly. So in terms of the content then, there are a few different things that I'm doing at the moment. So first of all, there is a couple of newsletters. We've got the Digital Stage Digest newsletter. Now, if you're not subscribed to this, you can head over to my channel, my website, I should say, takeonetech.io, and sign up there. But this is a weekly newsletter, and it's basically kind of like a long form written newsletter. Aren't all newsletters written, maybe? But this is really about the sort of business side of things. And this was another reason why I've changed the slight change of the brand with Take One Tech. And ultimately, by the way, I will change the name of the channel, but rather than just change everything at once and then everything be unfamiliar and people who are used to seeing Take One Tech not seeing it again, I'm just sort of slowly changing things so that it's just sort of introduced a little bit at a time. But the Digital Stage Digest newsletter, by the way, I don't normally write to myself, but this is the little test email that comes to me. So this is kind of long form, because the other part of the whole digital stage things that I talk about is it's not just about the tech, actually. And in the Digital Stage Academy, yes, we do talk about, Stream Deck issues, as came up in one of the office hour sessions yesterday. But we're also talking about the business side of it, the tools that we use, how to actually grow and monetize online as well. So it's much broader than actually just the tech, which is, again, is part of the reason to sort of drop the tech specifically out of that, because I am leaning more towards like the broader sort of business side of things as well. So Digital Stage Digest is really more about that broader look at things in terms of growing a business and so on. There's a content spotlight in there, which is usually it's often my videos, but I do also link to other folks' videos in here as well. Quick tips, and then sometimes a little promo or free download or something like that in there as well. So it's a long form newsletter. So that is the Digital Stage Digest newsletter. I do then have another newsletter as well. And that is one I introduced just a couple of weeks ago, actually, which is tech focused. So rather than having the business side of things in that Digital Stage Digest, the Digital Backstage is intended to be more about the tech stuff, the studio, because obviously it is still an integral part of it. And there's certainly lots to say about how you have everything set up so that you can appear better, how to shine on your digital stage, as I say. So just taking a look at that then, this again is a newsletter, slightly shorter, but basically it's going to have some sort of actionable insights in there as well as to how you can look better on camera. And so this was the one from last week where I was talking about lighting and just giving some tips in terms of the basics of lighting and how to get the most out of it, from the very basic of, don't sit on Zoom with a bright light behind you that's going to sort of wash you out, but then sort of building up to some other more advanced tips in here as well. So that is the digital backstage newsletter. So then also in terms of content, something which will be coming very soon. I'm just in the process of recording. I'm batch recording a few episodes for it to get it off the ground. But this is the Digital Stage Mastery podcast. I did have another podcast that I was running, and I haven't recorded an episode of that for, I've got to say, it's got to be close to 2 years now. I think the episodes dropped out, but yeah, 2 years ago it would have been. So the live streamer backstage podcast, that was where I was interviewing other live streamers, talking about how they use live streaming as a tool in their business. I may well resurrect that one. I'll probably change the name to make it more in line with everything else. But the Digital Stage Mastery podcast is just going to be a podcast talking about all the same things that I talk about in the newsletter, on the channel, and in the academy as well. So again, another sort of content-based inbound marketing tool there. Then we've also got, obviously, this is where Take One Tech fits into this. And then obviously I've just changed the logo of that so that it's more in line with that branding. As I say, at some point I will change the name of the channel, but I don't see any point to be in a hurry to do that. I just want to get folks used to seeing this new visual identity, and then the name can change whenever in the future. So then we've also got the events side of things. I've just realized I'm missing something off my screen. Let me just click this here. Then we've got the events side of things. So the Digital Stage Blueprint is an event that I ran last year, and it was a 3-day event where we've got sort of 3 90-minute, 2-hour sessions. And the idea of that is that the Blueprint had 3 days where we introduced basically the concept of the digital stage, why it's important, talked about the tech on day 2, and how to get a setup together so that you can grow and monetize. And then day 3 was specifically about monetization. And really, it was kind of an introduction to the academy. So this is, people ask me all the time about, what do I decide as to what to give out as free content on the YouTube channel or in a newsletter or whatever versus, what's behind a paywall. Well, the reality is I don't put anything behind a paywall. I try to give freely, like in my information in the newsletter, in the YouTube channel, in everything. The only difference is that, obviously in a single newsletter, you're limited to how much information you can actually provide. Obviously, over time, it builds up into really quite a substantial archive, if you like, of information. Same with the YouTube channel. With over 500 videos, there's lots of free information on here, but I never hold anything back and say, well, there's this extra little trick, and I'm not going to tell you until you've paid something. So I never do that. But it's just a case of having the time and the structure that you get with an educational course, either a course or the academy, which is a membership where we have office hour sessions and things like that as well. So the Blueprint, once again, was just intended to give an introduction to that. And as I say, there's plenty of actionable information that you can get from that free event. But it was intended as, this is potentially the next step then is the academy. In fact, somebody actually said during that event, it was technically 4 days. We did 3 days and then we had a day Q&A. And somebody said during the Q&A, it's like, right, well, what's next? What do we do now? We've got all this information. What do we do now? And so that's always what you're sort of thinking about when you're putting together a structured sort of content ecosystem, is thinking about, well, what is the next step that people are going to need to take and how can you take them along with that? So that was the Digital Stage Blueprint. Now, I also did another event, which actually now was not last year. It was at the end of 2023. I will be doing more of these this year. The Digital Stage Revolution was basically a high-ticket event, by which I mean like a paid event. a relatively high price event rather than just like, a $50 workshop or something like that. The value of this was between either the virtual event was $1,000, and then there was an in-person event, which actually I never actually did that part of it, but we'll be doing this year. But this is more like $2,500 for the in-person live event. And this is 4 days. It's 4 days with me delivering content sort of 9 to 5 basically, and it's a really intensive event that's intended to again teach all of the tools, the techniques and everything in a really confined short period of time, but as I say, really intensive, going into all the detail, covering everything that's needed in there. Again, there is ongoing support that is always valuable. So even if you go and do one of these intensive 4-day style of events, you're still then coming out of that needing the support and the guidance potentially to go through and actually implement it all yourself. And so that's why with the Digital Stage Revolution, I also included Academy membership after the fact as part of that, so that when people did the event, they also had that support afterwards. So the next one was the Digital Stage Summit. Now, this is the first time I'm running. This is actually coming up in March. You can find that pinned into the top of the chat. It should be, or it might be somewhere else at the top, but I'll just drop the link in again if you go to digitalstagesummit.com. Now, this is a 3-day event, full days, 9 till 6 Eastern time. And it is a multi-speaker event. So I've got 30 plus speakers. We've got some really amazing people already on board. I am still looking for speakers, by the way, or open to suggestions of speakers. If you want to go to digitalstagesummit.com, you'll see there is also a speakers apply here. We've got, as I say, 30 spots based on having some panel discussions, but then also having, obviously dedicated speaker spots as well. And I've got 24 people that are already there, and I know that there's a load more to submit. So I'm going to have to try and figure out how to fit them all in. Maybe we might need to put on another event shortly afterwards, or I'll figure out a way anyway. But so there is 3 days, 30 experts, and there's the focus of the day is focus of the days. I slow myself down a little bit. Day one's all about building the toolkit. So it's about the tools that you use online in your online business, but that can include things like studio gear, but it might also be software and things like that you're using to do what we're talking about, in terms of everything digital stage. Then the day 2 is all about sort of perfecting your presence, which is about engaging authentically, creating your content effectively on screen as well, building a community and those sorts of things. These are in broad terms. I've got some really great speakers lined up for this, actually, that's going to, I'm sure, help a lot of people. And day 3 is then all about what I'm all about, really, which is then turning this into a business. It's not just about let's create some content. It's about, let's actually create some content, have an impact in the world, deliver our value with maximum impact, and generate some revenue from that as well. So that's what day 3 is all about. It's more about the sort of business side of scaling and growing your business. So you can register now, by the way. It's running from the 18th, I should say, to the 20th of March. You can register now. It's free to register. There is a VIP pass available if you want to have lifetime access to the replays. Otherwise, the portal access ends sort of the end of the week following the event. So this is Tuesday to Thursday. So then the portal access for the replay technically ends the week after that, at the end of the week. But there's a replay pass available if that's of interest to you. But the actual event itself is completely free. I will be announcing some speakers soon. We've got, as I say, a great lineup. I'm just figuring out where to put them all in the 3 days. Really delighted, proud, and everything to have Ecamm on board as a sponsor of this event. And I will be announcing some new sponsors that I'm just in discussions with in due course as well. So it's going to be a really great event. And so that is the Digital Stage Summit. So once again, the familiar logo, the familiar branding of all of that as well. So coming back over to here then. And we've got my camera just stopping. That's interesting. Those are the events then. We've then got the sort of education side of things. So those events are a mixture of sort of free and paid events. But then in terms of education, I mean, technically all that I've just talked about is education, but as I say, I had to give it some sort of title. So education, by that I mean the sort of paid courses and so on. I've got a whole suite of courses, the masterclasses on everything from Ecamm, Rodecaster, Stream Deck, Keynote, outsourcing, and so on, and YouTube, Discord, and a few others in there as well. But what I've done is I've got those all under the umbrella of the Academy, and actually the first part is the Digital Stage Network, which is also part of the Academy as well. And the Digital Stage Network is a community space. So I had been using Discord for quite a long time, and that was my sort of free public community space. However, with the Academy, I did take a poll. I got some feedback, and actually the majority of people just didn't really particularly like Discord. I love it, but many people don't. And so I wanted to make something that was really sort of accessible and easy for people to use and didn't have that sort of barrier that I felt that Discord was putting up for people. And you could say, well, you know, if you want to be a part of it, you've got to learn. But on the other hand, you know, people have got enough to learn. I don't want to put roadblocks in people's way. So the Digital Stage Network is a community space. If you've been in any sort of circle communities or those types of community with a sort of much more cleaner, I would say more modern interface than Discord, then that's what the network is. It operates actually off Kajabi, so it is a Kajabi community. And the other advantage of that then is that it's all fully integrated. It just looks like the rest of the site. When you go into your course library in Kajabi, then it's got it all in there. I was just going to get it up. I should have probably had it up from the beginning, but I will just do it as I'm talking. Just dive straight into it. So yeah, it just means from an integration point of view, having a community that's just fully integrated with all of the other content means that people can just get into it a lot easier. And also, what I also found with Discord in particular is if you join a lot of communities and you're getting lots of notifications, yes, technically you can control them, you can turn things off, but sometimes, you know, that thing isn't necessarily immediately obvious how to do. And so I found that people were getting bombarded with multiple notifications and therefore, you know, were essentially missing stuff from here. So this is what it looks like in the network. And so we've got some channels down the side here. So a lot simpler than Discord. I probably overcomplicated Discord, my server, by having, you know, a channel for Stream Deck, a channel for Rodecaster, a channel for Ecamm, and so on. But then what happens if you've got a question about how to use the Rodecaster with Stream Deck to control Ecamm? Which channel does it go in? So it caused a bit of confusion, I think, and that was down to me and how I built it out. Well, this is much more simplified. Sorry to have my huge face on the screen again there. But this is what we've got. We've got some sections for office hours, for VIP Academy members, some other Academy stuff here. And then these are basically just the channels. So place to introduce yourself, place to ask questions, place for sharing useful tools and information, plans and goals, sharing those, and then the progress as well. So that's the idea behind the Digital Stage Network. And once again, slightly different look, but essentially the same underlying branding in there as well. So that is the network. You can actually join the network as a standalone product if you just want to go in and be a part of that community. But the original impetus for me setting up the network was, as I say, something to support the Academy. And the Academy is giving you access to all of the courses that I have available. And there is a waitlist for it at the moment. I'm going to be changing things up with the Academy. I've been recently doing some polling of existing Academy members, but also people who were interested in the Academy but didn't sign up, and understanding, you know, what were the reasons behind that as well. And I can't stress enough how valuable it is to just actually ask people. Lots of people go round and round in circles thinking about how much should I charge for this, how should I structure that, and all of these things, and, you know, spend a lot of time, as I say, spinning wheels, not actually doing anything because they can't figure out, you know, what's the best place to what's the best way to position something, to price something, and so on. You can learn a huge amount by just actually asking the question. So I sent out a survey to existing Academy members in the community and had some responses to that. Any Academy members watching, this, not all of you have responded, but it's all about sort of pricing and offerings and things like that. And then I sent a very similar survey out to people who were considering signing up but hadn't, to understand, you know, what were the roadblocks there and so on. But essentially, the Academy offers, I'll just skip down through the landing page. By the way, you can find links to all of these in the description if you're interested. But there's basically two tiers of the Academy, the Digital Stage Academy, and then we've got the the Academy VIP. Now, as part of that, you basically get access to, with the VIP, we do the office hours sessions twice weekly, one-to-one coachings included in that to a limited extent as well, so a couple of free calls there as well, and then tickets to that event that I mentioned earlier. But then we also have all of the courses, so the video studio masterclass, the Stream Deck keynote, and so on. This one actually is still not released yet. I'm a little bit behind with it. I'll explain more about that in a moment. But yeah, getting access to all of these courses, and then there's some other things which I'll talk about later. But those are the two tiers then of the Digital Stage Academy. So giving you access to the courses, and then with the VIP, you also get access to those office hour sessions and things like that. So that is the Academy then. I don't know why my video keeps popping in and out, actually. It's quite strange. Didn't used to do that. It's maybe, maybe it's because I'm using the beta, but that shouldn't affect Keynote. Anyway, we'll find out. I'll figure it out afterwards. The other thing then that I have is the Digital Stage Elite. So as well as the VIP tier where we have group coaching, some people just want to have that one-to-one guidance. And so that's what the Digital Stage Elite is all about. I've actually got, I think it says on here 2 places. I've only got 1 place left on this at the moment. And if I just show you this one, so this is my one-to-one coaching program. And that's for people who basically just want to have that sort of real fast track where we're meeting either once or twice a week, something like that, or maybe a couple of times every 2 weeks, whatever it is. It's completely bespoke and structured to what you want to get out of it. And that is available either on a quarterly basis or on an annual basis. And as I say, it says 2 spots remaining in Q1. Actually, there's only 1 spot remaining now. I opened it up at the beginning of the year to new people, and I've taken on another 4. So I've only got one spot remaining for that, because obviously I'm limited with the time that I can provide for that. But that is the Digital Stage Elite. So that is another component to figure out what's going on with my video. But that is the Digital Stage Elite. As I say, that is the sort of educational side of things. Now, actually, there is also resources within that. So again, just to show you the sort of consistency of branding that I was looking to change with the channel, we have our weekly office hour sessions. I do 2 of those a week because we've got folks in the Academy all around the world. So time zones is always an issue. So I do them at basically 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a Thursday for me. And those are always great. I mean, they're office hours, so obviously this comes from this idea of being available for people to just drop in and ask questions and things like that. But actually, it's not just about asking questions. We've got a huge wealth of knowledge within the group as well. So it's not just about answering technical questions. I mean, yesterday we spent a lot of time figuring out Stream Deck and doing some troubleshooting there. But it's also, as I say, about the business side of things. And we've got people in there who are all experts in their relative field. So we always have some interesting discussions as well. Then there are workshops as well. So those are sort of workshops that are an individual deep dive into one particular aspect of whatever it is we're doing. And then there's some other things in there, such as digital stage search and intelligence. This is basically drawing from all of my content. Now, I call it beta because I'm still building out all of the content into it. But essentially what it's doing is drawing from all of my content so that then you can query it and ask a question and then it will come back. Because one of the things that I get asked all the time, people will email me and say, I remember seeing that you did a video about X, Y, and Z, whatever it was, but I don't know where it was. It could have been on YouTube. It could have been in a workshop. It could have been in one of your courses. So where do I find it? And the honest answer is, I don't know. I can't remember either, because with hours and hours of videos, it's very difficult to remember and keep track of all that stuff myself. I mean, obviously, if it's an eCam question, I can direct towards the eCam course, but there's often like these little things that may have been dropped. Maybe it's something I mentioned in passing in one of the office hours calls. So what Digital Stage Intelligence is doing though is I'm uploading all of my content, and I've figured that I've got about 2,000 hours actually worth of content. There's the YouTube videos, which I've got 500 plus YouTube videos. Average of between half an hour to 2 hours in some cases for live stream. So that's 45-minute average each, let's say. And then there's all the weekly office hour sessions. We do those as I say twice a day on the Thursday, twice a week, sorry. And those are minimum usually an hour and a half, but sometimes longer. So that's 3 hours a week. We've been doing those for 2 hours for 2 years. And then there's all the other content that I've been creating in terms of just courses. So with 10 plus courses that I've created, there's all those videos as well. So what Digital Stage Intelligence does is it's got all of that content, and then it's basically allowing you to query it just as you would do with ChatGPT. But when you ask a question, it's going to give you a set of instructions, like how do I connect Rodecaster with Ecamm, for example. Then it will tell you do this, do that, do this, do that, and tell you the step-by-step instructions, because it's got all of that instruction-based content that I've created. So that gives you some step-by-step instructions, and then it also links back to the source video. So it just means that with all of this information that you've got as part of the Academy, you've just got a much better way of actually using it effectively. That's the point. So that is Digital Stage Intelligence, and as I say, there's a few other digital stage themed things going on in here, but that essentially then is why I changed the logo of the YouTube channel just where it is, just here, because everything else has got this consistent branding, but this is the one thing that didn't have that. I did actually change on the website, just discreetly change the logo up in the top here, Take One Tech Training and Consultancy. I changed that about 3 months ago or something like that, so just to start this process. But ultimately, I'll change the name of this as well. So we'll just sort of separate out from that, and then everything will just all be completely consistent. But there's my camera again. That is the reason behind the change, and this is the sort of content ecosystem that I've been building up. It was actually that term, content ecosystem. Alicio Way, who's another great guy from the Ecamm community, he had that as some sort of illuminated sign on his background in his videos, and it always just struck a chord with me that this is what we're trying to build out, a content ecosystem around the value that we've got to deliver. So whether it's the free stuff over here, whether it's some paid events down here, or the Academy or things like this over this side, I'm still delivering just all of the same content. It's just a case of what level of structure you're getting from that, what level of direct engagement you're getting with me. Obviously there's free videos on YouTube, but then there's the elite coaching, which is just one-to-one as well. So I'm just talking about all the same things, all the same content, just in slightly different formats. So that is just to explain the reason behind the change. And I also had a call with somebody yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and he had been looking on been searching for a solution to his Rodecaster issues, and he found my channel that day, and then booked a call with me immediately on that day as well. But then it was just funny how when we're on the call, he just said, "By the way, what actually do you do?" Because he literally just watched the video and thought, this could probably help me, so let me just go and book a call. So I thought it'd be useful to just put that out there for context as to where the Take One Tech channel fits within, as I say, the broader content ecosystem. So that's half an hour of me waffling. Let me just come back to here and say hello to a few folks. Whoops, I'll start with Neil. Great to see you, Neil. How are you doing? Whoops, drop your comment off. Let's get that back up. And Saeed, great to see you here as well. Everything's a bit slow today. It's a bit weird. And I'm clicking on these things, they're not popping up. Glad you like the new logo. It pops out a little bit more than my somewhat amateur efforts that I created for Take One Tech 4 years ago. As I say, if I'd known what I was doing, I probably would have put a little bit more thought into it. But I'm glad you like it. And indeed, much better, much cleaner. Also, never a good idea to have like tiny writing on a logo either, by the way. So, my original one was, never great for that sort of profile picture. So let's see. I'm always wondering, interestingly, I know the joke, obviously. Do I write my mails in one take? I do have a process for writing my my newsletters. I do use AI to help with my writing, and that is because not the creation of it. My problem is always in the same way as in my videos. I tend to write too much, so I always have difficulty in just sort of spending time on trimming it and editing it. And that's honestly the reason why I intended to write newsletters for a long time, but I could never get into it because it just felt like there was too much friction. friction. So what I do now is I do that first draft, but instead of spending hours and hours and hours just being my little perfectionist self trying to tweak things and get them all right and try and write in the most perfect way, what I do is I just do the first draft, and now I've actually started speaking the first draft. Then what I have ChatGPT do is basically I say, right, well, now take that, now just condense it down. I want to try and keep it to this length. I usually end up expanding it further on that because my newsletters are a little bit long, but I'll basically take my words, get them condensed down, and then I'll go back through it again a second time, and then I'll just make sure that it is actually sounding like me, and adjusting things that just don't look right, or when sometimes it's been condensed down and maybe they've taken out something that I think is really important. So that's my process for it. Is I guess you could say then in that case it's kind of 3 takes. There's my first take, there's ChatGPT's refinement of it, and then there's my final adjustment of that and the final editing of it to make it me. So that's my process for that. Hey there, great to see you in the chat. Fantastic to see you here. Let me see where we're up to. And so for the chat, if there's any questions about anything we've talked about in terms of the event or anything like that, I will just put that up once again to say that if you are interested in any of this digital stage stuff that I keep talking about in terms of improving your on-screen presence in your meetings, your content, and so on, but also putting on live events or just leveling up the way you generally are able to deliver your value on screen, wherever that is, then definitely check out the Digital Stage Summit. I'm so delighted that Ecamm are on board with this, by the way. And the reason is because Ecamm has just been instrumental in everything I've done. The entire channel grew out of this practicing the process of making videos in one take with no edits. And because I just sort of fell in love with Ecamm as I was doing it, it tended to be that's what most of my videos are about. So the first 100 videos, I think 30 to 40% of them were about Ecamm, and the Ecamm community has been so supportive as well. And I literally would not be doing what I'm doing right now without Ecamm. So I've got to just say, I'm so pleased that they are on board with this in terms of promoting it and speaking and sponsoring and so on. So yeah, it's just really really great. And the Ecamm community is just such a fabulous place of like-minded people who are all looking to help one another and elevate their what they're doing online as well. Now, there is also something related to that then. I've got an Ecamm Live Masterclass, which is completely free. You can find that linked in the description. But for 4 years of making all this content, I've so many times had people asking me, when am I going to do a live training style course rather than just a learn on demand? Because people learn in different ways. Some people want to learn at their own pace. Other people, I can tell you, probably about 40% of people or 30% of people will sign up to a course and then just not progress through it at all, because I see the progress statistics of courses. So some people need that support and guidance in their learning as well. So the other thing I want to just mention is the Ecamm Live Accelerator, which is a 2-week course running from February the 10th, so a week on Monday essentially, through to the February the 21st. And that is 2 weeks where we have every weekday there will be a live session. There'll be some pre-recorded stuff in there as well, sort of homework, and then a live session, which is all about the implementation of it as well. And once again, I'm running 2 of those every day, just because we've got the same issue as we have with my office hour sessions. Folks are all around the world, so I wanted to make sure everyone gets a chance to attend the live sessions. So I'm doing those at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday, from the 10th to the 21st of February. The actual portal for that will open up on Monday. So folks who are signing up, you'll get access to the initial content from this Monday coming up, so the week before it starts. By the way, all Academy members, you're automatically getting access to this. So if you haven't been receiving my emails or haven't seen them just yet, just know that you'll just automatically get access to this. And so, yeah, that's 2 weeks designed to sort of take you from 0 to hero in just 2 weeks and give you some hands-on guidance with all of that. The other thing that I'm doing as well is a bonus session all about the Ecamm Live beta. So some of the new features that we've got in the beta are obviously, really amazing things that we can do. They're only, some of them might seem like really little things, but just even things like these little animations of moving the videos about. But you can do some really interesting things with those in terms of how you can use them. We've got another great Academy member, Martin McKenna. So he's one of the Digital Stage Academy members, and he's been doing some great things with using the I always forget what it's called. Live motion. I always want to call it Magic Move, which is what it's called in Keynote. But the live motion feature. So he's been doing some great things with that as well. So although those aren't in the regular version of Ecamm yet, there will be a bonus session which is all about that, how to get the most out of the beta and basically future-proof yourself, how to start thinking about these things in the regular version as well. It's just $97 for that 2 full weeks, and actually as part of that $97, I nearly said $2. As part of that $97, you do also get access to the network as well, because that's going to give you that ongoing support that you need after the fact. And we've got a channel dedicated to just Ecamm Live, which I literally just added in 2 days ago, and that's in preparation for this. So there'll be a dedicated channel all for your Ecamm questions and answers, and sharing the progress that you're making as well, to give you that sort of extra support with it. So that is the Ecamm Live Accelerator, just $97. You can find that at ecammaccelerator.com. There's a link to it in the description, and it's also pinned to the top of the chat there for people who are in the chat. So let's have a look. How can one human handle all of the services and content you showed, or do you have business partners, assistants? I do have 2 virtual assistants, actually. Beverly, who is the sort of administration side of things, and then we've got Zarina, who is helping with some of the graphic side of things as well. But the other thing that I will say is it might be easy to sort of look at that and think that it's a lot, but I will also say it didn't just happen, overnight. So these things have been built up slowly. Obviously, the YouTube channel was the first thing. I then introduced the what was the Take One Tech Academy as I started building out the courses. Well, actually, let me take a step back. I suppose what happened first was there was the YouTube channel. Then I added in the Ecamm Masterclass, a Zoom Masterclass, a Stream Deck, and Rodecaster. And then at some point, I introduced the Discord community during that process. And then in the year following that, I introduced the Take One Tech Academy. Now, Discord, as I said, I'm going to be eventually migrating everything over to the Digital Stage Network community. And then the Take One Tech Academy became the Digital Stage Academy. I did also have one of the first coaching clients that I had actually ask me, can I make a product? Can I make a package, rather, I should say, that was, a year's worth of coaching? And that's gone on for 2 years and just recently renewed for the 3rd year. And that's what eventually became, the Digital Stage Elite Coaching Program. As part of the academy, running the office hours and workshops is just a sort of part of that. So that's sort of been introduced over time. And then the 3 events down here, as I say, the Digital Stage Revolution was effectively not last year. It was the end of the year before. The Digital Stage Blueprint was just at the end of last year. The summit is coming up, where is it? In March. And then I'll be doing these 2 again later in the year as well. And the newsletters have just come in earlier on this year. So I had a lot of this in my mind when I started the Academy. If you look at the original launch video for the Academy that I did, for example, you'll see that I did put this sort of roadmap of things that I wanted to do with the Academy. Now, in full disclosure, I sort of failed on a number of those points, and certainly the timeline of it was stretched out. There's a great quote from somebody, and I always misattribute it to who it's from. I don't know whether it's from Bill Gates or from somebody else, but whatever. The point is the same, that people always overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. Now, I, somewhat probably foolishly, I always take some comfort in that when I miss my deadlines, because I think, oh, well, it'll come good within the next 5 years. But I do find that is true. I do find that I often overstretch myself and sort of fall short of what I'm trying to do. And a case in point would be, I mentioned that one of the new courses that's coming out is the Digital Stage. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I've got that on my mind. Is the Video Studio Masterclass, which is for me kind of the final biggest piece of the jigsaw, if you like, in all of the Academy, in all of the things that are in that. And that I'd intended to have complete by now, quite honestly. It's the 31st of January. And what happened is I overstretched myself. I committed to too many things, as I always do. I actually started the new year saying, I'm only going to focus on like one major project every quarter, because I actually had like basically a major event or a major release every month for 2 years, effectively, or 3 years. And so I thought that that's what I'd do for this quarter. But then I already had the Video Studio Masterclass. I then committed to do the Ecamm Live Accelerator, which so obviously I've been getting everything ready for that so that it can all launch on Monday. And then the other thing then is the Digital Stage Summit event as well, which obviously is a huge amount of organization as well. So yes, I do have a habit to overstretch myself a little bit, but essentially that's that's what it is. But the point I'm making though is it's not something that's just happened like overnight. It's always good to have like a plan of where you want to take things, and then just build things out, bit by bit, and have that idea, and also that confidence in, that the belief in what you're doing is going to help people, and these are all different parts of the of that process. So here we go. Yes, I've got my cloning clinic. It's funny, we're on one of the office hours yesterday with David Chris. If you go to Appy Dave is his YouTube channel. He does some great stuff all around AI. And yesterday we were in the office hour session, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to have to go. I've got another Zoom call." And I was like, "Haven't you cloned yourself already? Surely you can do it." The cloning. I hope we can clone ourselves one day. It would make things significantly easier. But I have got to say a huge thanks to Beverly and Zarina, because they are a huge help. It was one of the things that I changed last year. I actually had a series of things just occur in life that basically put roadblocks in my way for completing the things that I'd got on my mind, so on my plate, I should say. Let me just type this in. And the thing that happened was, having done basically some major launch or release every month for, as I say, the past 3 years, it was in around about April last year, or yeah, was it April? There was April, May, and June when I basically didn't release anything, and it was all because of these external things that happened, that came up. And I realized at that point that despite having an understanding and a background in using virtual assistants and outsourcing in previous roles and in previous businesses, I wasn't doing any of it in Take One Tech because I just loved every aspect of it. And it wasn't a case of I didn't think people could do it better than me. I knew they could, but it was just that I loved doing it all. And so I fell into that trap of just wanting to do everything. But then when you're doing everything, you're getting bogged down with the minutiae of, just minor little details here and there, which are actually stopping you from having the big picture ideas. And so it was around June last year that I said, right, well, maybe I just need to actually, dust off my onlinejobs.ph account, which is the outsourcing to folks in the Philippines. I used that extensively. I'd had dozens of VAs previously, several years before. I thought, yeah, I just need to actually do that because I know how to do it. I'd done it with and it had been a great help to me before. So that's what I did. Incidentally, the logo that I've changed to, the new graphic and all the digital stage stuff, that was actually the first part of outsourcing, again back in June. This logo, this identity, I've been using in all the digital stage stuff since then, and that was something I outsourced using Fiverr. And just got the logo back within a few days. But now I've got two wonderful team members, Beverly and Zarina. And as I say, Beverly is customer success and systems manager and systems management, and then Zarina is doing graphic design and video production. Ultimately, when with things like short form content and repurposed, where I do want to get into that, but I need to provide better quality source material. Actually, is the honest answer there. But yeah, it's a huge help to have folks that can do that. And once you get those smaller tasks off your plate, then as I say, you can focus more on the big picture stuff. Incidentally, if you're interested in outsourcing, I do highly recommend it. And if you go over to learning and go to courses on my website, takeonetech.io. Go over to the courses there. You'll see that one of the masterclasses in there is the outsourcing masterclass. And in this one, you can literally do this course, and by the end of it, you can have somebody hired. I did a whole live stream all about this, but one of the things that holds people back from outsourcing, actually, there are kind of 5 things. Either like me, they just love doing everything themselves. And so you feel like, well, I want to enjoy the whole process myself and do it all. The fact is that you are then sort of, again, getting bogged down with those low value tasks. And the other thing then is that maybe you have this feeling of, I don't want to outsource things because maybe people won't be able to do it as well as I can. And that is a common thing. You know, obviously, if you know your business inside and out and you are the expert in your field, then yes, I understand why you would feel maybe a little bit apprehensive to release that to other people. But the fact of the matter is, you don't have to release all of that to other people. You can just outsource the things that are, as I say, those lower impact tasks. And I've got a whole download on this, by the way, which is, let me just find this for you because it's worth mentioning this. There's a free PDF that I created around this. If we go into resources over here, let me just open this one. I'll go to resources, free resources from the website. And it's this one here, the Solopreneur's Guide to Outsourcing, and it's all about this this matrix that I created that's going to help you decide where you want to focus your time and what sort of things that you can outsource. Let me just get that open for you as well because it's worth just sort of sharing this. I'll just open this up here, drop it up here. So this is basically the crux of that PDF and also the course, really. It's this matrix that I created called the case matrix, which is where you decide basically what you're going to outsource. So there are different things that you're going to need to work on in your business. There's the low revenue impact stuff, and then there's the high revenue impact stuff. So the low revenue impact is all of that, the minutiae of actually running the business, answering trivial emails rather than really high impact emails, for example, uploading video content to your Kajabi platform or YouTube or whatever. So with my courses now, I create the videos, but I'm not the one that's actually uploading them into Kajabi, for example. And then you've got stuff that is high revenue impact. But then you've also got these two vertical columns, which is what is specialized expertise versus general expertise. So when you're thinking about outsourcing, the first sort of quadrant to focus on is elevating your role by removing the mundane tasks from your daily responsibilities. So you're basically removing those low revenue impact tasks that are general expertise. Again, uploading videos is not a particularly taxing task, and it's ultimately not a major revenue generating thing. Obviously, you could say, well, yeah, if you haven't got the videos, then it is. But what I mean by that is it's not something that's having a really high impact overall. The next thing then is separating yourself from non-core specialized tasks. So yes, you might need to bring on somebody that's specialized, such as a graphic designer. It's not that everybody can do that. It's not general expertise. It is specialized. But again, it's potentially low revenue impact. So creating thumbnails for events or things like that, it's not a major revenue impact there. And then we've got the third area, which is accelerating your growth by expanding your capacity to handle those high revenue impacts. So maybe some of that more direct sort of customer interaction and things like that are potentially going to have a high revenue impact, but again, are more general than your area of specialist expertise, which is where you should concentrate your efforts. So that is just to sort of answer this question or this query of, nobody can do it as well as me. Well, that's what you're talking about there is probably this area. And maybe nobody's as good a graphic designer as you. I know that basically I'm not the greatest in the world, but even if I had this illusion that I was the best graphic designer in the world, so I should be doing all of my own course graphics and things like that, I need to be separating myself out from those low revenue impact to focus on the high revenue impact, because that's where you're going to get the maximum growth. So that's where you can sort of dismiss that myth of nobody can do it as well as me. The other one then that people have is, well, I don't really have the finances. Maybe you're just starting. I don't have the finances to outsource and be taking on members of staff. Well, you don't have to build out a full team, and you don't also have to commit to taking on somebody full time. The benefit of platforms like onlinejobs.ph, which is the freelancer outsourcing platform, but you will find people in here that are relatively long term. As in, I see it as I'm looking for somebody that's going to be with me for a long time. But you can just have them do, a couple of hours a week to begin with, just handling some relatively simple tasks. Then as that starts freeing up your time, the real acceleration in growth that you're going to get in your business comes from the fact that whilst you might be saying, I can't afford to pay for staff because I'm not generating the revenue yet, you're also slowing down your path to generating that revenue because you are focused too much on all the small stuff, and you're not having time to actually put aside for that bigger picture stuff, the bigger picture thinking that comes when you are sitting here. I mean, I have time allotted every week for just, basically sitting back and thinking about stuff, because it's only when you have the time to think about the direction you're going, the strategy and things like that, that you get to get the stuff done. So I'm very careful about making sure I've got that time, so that I can make sure that I'm either keeping on track or I'm adjusting my track as necessary. So it's kind of like that chicken or egg thing. But what you'll find is if you free up, let's say, even if you free up 2 hours of your time every week because you've suddenly freed up this 2 hours here. And when I say free up 2 hours of your time, if you're, if the person is, on an hourly rate of $8 to $12 an hour or something like that, which is actually in the higher range for onlinejobs.ph. And by the way, these are still qualified people. It's just that the relative cost in those countries is different to in the US or the UK or whatever. It is actually a relatively low cost to entry, and yet it can free up, instead of 2 hours spent tweaking with emails or back-end systems, you've got 2 hours that you can spend on really high revenue generating ideas and activities. It can make a profound difference. I said that there were 5 things that hold people back. So one of them is wanting to do it all yourself. One of them is thinking that people can't do it as well as you. One of them is the finances. And then there's 2 others that I'm forgetting, but they're all in here. So you can get the Solopreneur's Guide to outsourcing, and I'll drop that in the chat as well. But just keep talking about this because it's coming back basically to what Saeed was saying in that comment, which was how do we handle all of the things that we've got on? And really, yes, it's the outsourcing that was the one. Outsourcing sleep, yeah, that would be good. I do have to get my power naps my power naps in. But yeah, highly recommend going. Highly recommend. I can't really highly recommend my own stuff, can I? Surely that's not right. But if you feel like it, I would say that I think this Solopreneur's Guide to Outsourcing is going to be a little bit eye-opening, if only to break down those barriers and those myths that stop people taking action. Just coming back even to the logo that I talked about, the new logo. I love designing stuff, and the problem I have is I spend hours tweaking on these over these things and trying to get everything right. And if I had gone into designing my own logo, it would have taken me a long time. I definitely would have gone down a rabbit hole with that. Now, just to show you what you can get on Fiverr. So Fiverr is this. It did start that everything on there was at $5, but it's not the case. So don't expect that you're going to get world-class design services for $5, but it's still relatively inexpensive. It's not that much more. And if I just get the brand guide for that, I'll just show you this. This basically was the brand guide that I got created for the digital stage properties, if you like, whatever. And so I actually had the idea I wanted these 3 interconnecting play symbols, effectively showing the different levels of the digital stage and how we're layering these things up, but also indicating forward motion and whatever. So I gave like a rough sketch, and I stopped myself from actually going and designing it. I got to that stage where I'd done the ideation, if you like, and then I sent it to this great freelancer on Fiverr, and within 24 hours, I got this logo back. And then when I approved, actually, they gave this logo and like 5 others, but this one was more in line with what I was looking for, but better than I could have done, crucially. And then within another 24 hours, once I approved it, I actually got this entire brand guide. So, if I was to have created this brand guide myself, it would have taken me, I want to say a few weeks, because I would have constantly been trying to even just like, maybe this line should be positioned there or there. I would have just totally tweaked out on all of this. And yet, it was effectively $150 to get this brand guide done with these logos, with all of this stuff. Now, I'm not actually going to use some of these things, but that's besides the point. It's okay. I don't need to see necessarily how it's going to look on a mug and a hat, but still, it's nice. So the point is, though, that yeah, this was something that I outsourced. I made the decision that I wasn't going to do it myself, and then 48 hours later, I'd got my brand identity for all the digital staged stuff done for $150. So yeah, that was kind of the first point of me outsourcing before then taking on VAs and things like that. So I highly recommend doing that if you have the desire to improve what you are doing with all of this. Hey, Sonny, great to see you here. And by the way, obviously, you've also got access to the, so Sonny, one of our VIP Academy members, you've also got access to that, the outsourcing masterclass as well. And the outsourcing masterclass takes you through sort of step by step how to do that. How to do the outsourcing. And by that, what I mean is it is a real sort of hands-on course or practical guide that you literally go through it step by step. And I'll just show you what that looks like for those that are interested. There's 3 platforms that I cover in there, actually. One of them, so if you go into your course library, it will look like this, and then you should see the outsourcing master. Actually, for you, Sonny, you would need to just go into the Academy course here, and then just in the courses that you can activate it, and it will just drop into your course library like this. But just to show what that is about, I wanted it to be literally a step by step how you can start and then outsource from by the end of the course, essentially. So the first one is about the outsourcing mindset. So in here, I've got lessons that are all about, why you should be outsourcing, removing those limiting beliefs, learning from my big mistake with Take One Tech. So spoiler alert, which was just not doing it sooner. Then explaining that case matrix in more detail to decide where you should start, and then introducing the outsourcing platforms. And there are 3 platforms that I recommend and use myself. So one of them, which is more for those ongoing members of the team, basically. So building a team, I would suggest onlinejobs.ph, which is outsourcing to the Philippines. And if you go through this module, there's basically what is the platform, how to sign up to it, how to post a job, how to review and shortlist your applicants, because there's a process to go through there, which is, once you post your job, I mean, I had 300 applicants, but very quickly I got it down to a really short list, and the process of actually onboarding them was done really quickly as well. But I've got, I think, 2 of the most amazing team members that I could possibly hope for in that. So there is a process to go through that, and then how to assign tasks and manage the tasks simply in either Monday.com, which is a task management for teams, or if you want to start building out more robust systems in general, then Notion is a great one, and that's what we use right now. And then how to do things like time tracking and stuff like that, if that's something that you want to do. Discussing confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. I personally don't have any of those in place, but it's just one of our Academy members works in finance, and they need to be careful about that. How to pay and so on. So if you go through all of these lessons, though, by the end of it, you could literally have somebody working for you an hour, a couple of hours a week that is just handling some of these low impact tasks that we were talking about. And then also Fiverr, which is great for, like, if you just want a logo built, or a logo made, rather, designed, or you want a new thumbnail design, or you want something like that, just like a one-off project. Fiverr is absolutely great for that. Loads of amazing people in there, and you're just basically buying a sort of almost like off-the-shelf product, if you like, bespoke to your needs. But what I mean is, it's like, yeah, they've got a logo design product or whatever that you buy, and then they'll do the work for you. And there's some great skilled, talented people on Fiverr. Upwork is more for sort of, I would say, midterm project style jobs. You can certainly find longer term stuff on there as well, and even short term, but I always think of that as being more highly skilled as well. So if you're implementing some sort of complex project, then that might be the place for doing it. When I was developing an algorithmic trading platform, we got some people from Upwork that were going to be like on a project basis for the purposes of this development. And then we talk about building the team and putting it into practice. So if you go through this course, though, it will, as I say, you could literally have somebody hired by the end of it. Yes, for you, Sonny, you can get access to that just within the Academy. It's there for you to go through. So with that said, we're coming up to the hour. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. If not, if you're watching on the replay, you can drop them into the comments down below. I do also have the Discord. As I say, at some point, you can feel free to join that. I will be migrating those that want to follow into the other community space. But for the time being, we still do have the Discord, which is available as well. So you can join that over here. And so let me see where I'm up to with that. Don't forget also that Digital Stage Summit as either an attendee or a speaker. If you would like to speak at that, you can click on here, basically click apply, and then it's going to open up a form, a Google form. And here is where you can submit, email, contact details, the bio, what's the session going to be about, what the takeaways that people are going to get from it, that sort of thing. And then upload a photo, and that's you're good to go. Then that's going to submit your application, and then I'm going to go through and review all the different speaker submissions and try and figure out a way to get everyone involved in one way or another. As I say, I've got loads of people that I reached out to personally. I've got loads of others still to reach out to, and then others that have filled out that form from the sharing out of it with Ecamm and me and everything else as well, everyone else as well. So just got some really great speakers lined up, and it's going to be an amazing event, even if I do say so myself. We've got some fantastic people. So with that said, then, if there are no other questions, then I will just say thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you've got some value from it, and I hope it now makes sense why I've made this simple change of my logo to bring it in line with everything else. I'll leave some videos over on the right hand side. Thanks as always to my YouTube channel members and also Academy members. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day. See you next time.